very few of you understand the way the other side thinks. It doesn't matter whether you're conservative or you are progressive. You don't really understand how the other side thinks. You don't really understand how they can be whatever you believe them to be, because of that sort of dynamic of that. What shall we say, that brainwashing that has occurred over many years. The dynamics of belief. You look at we would say that. Even though the Channel and Adrian are more conservative now than they have ever been before, you must realize that the Channel, especially, we used to describe him as a little left of Lenin, because of the because the dynamic is that's his natural state of being. His natural state of being is freedom, is liberty, is do whatever you wish as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting anyone else. That there doesn't have to be a lot of restrictions. There doesn't have to be a lot of rules. All you have to have is a relatively strong, and not even a perfectly strong, but a relatively strong moral compass. And if you have that dynamic, you can navigate your way through an existence in such a way as to realize that you are on a journey, and it's almost you start out as a little pinprick of consciousness, a little spark of consciousness in your journey through life and experience and movement has allowed you all to expand that dynamic of consciousness, that dynamic of movement. And even now, you lose sight of the fact that you are still no matter how old you are still in the midst of that dynamic of your journey, because you will continue to learn until the day that you pass.
So, a question: the fact, or this, right, the fact that either side doesn't understand how the other side thinks, is that in part a function of a more digital brain, one
Yes.
or zero?
Yes, yes, absolutely right. If you consider the dynamic from a more analog place, if you consider the holistic dynamic, because you don't look at a holistic dynamic in the digital.
Can you say it again, Adrian?
That the fact, now that people have the experience that one side doesn't understand how the other side thinks, is a result of thinking in a digital one or zero way.
As opposed to an analog sort of way. Now, you all remember before digital. You know, you're all old enough that you remember before the year 2000. You remember before things really moved over into the level of awareness that it has now. And if you can recall who you were before the year 2000 as to who you are now, you will see. Yeah, we realize it's a long time ago, but really, it's only 24 years. Um, so if you remember who you were 24 years ago and can understand that, you can put a dynamic of it. There's a real understanding of, if you can look at yourself, you say, who was I in the year 2000? And you have an honest opinion, and now see who you are now, and how much more peaceful you are now, and how much more understanding, and how you might even have a modicum of wisdom.
So does that also apply to the feminine and the masculine doesn't necessarily know what the other one is feeling?
Sure. How many dichotomies are there in your world? But the thing about it is that you do know. You just don't pay attention to it. You have all had, we keep telling you, you've all had innumerable lifetimes of being both genders. And from that dynamic of energy, you realize, have you ever, don't you every time you doing, you are expressing the masculine. Every time you are dreaming, you are expressing the feminine. Now that's really, that's basic, the most gross description, but in fact, that is where the truth of it lies. You are masculine and you are feminine, and you need both in the dynamics of your journey through the world. Because what's the one thing you're always doing? What's the one thing that you're always doing?
We're always creating our reality.
You're constantly adjusting to change. You are constantly adjusting to change, and you really only get in trouble when you try to stop time. Well, I'm not talking to you, Adrian. But if the shoe fits.
Well, wouldn't that correlate with saying when you don't want to change, therefore you want to stop time?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, sure. Sure, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.